Competitive TF2 had a bit of a rough ride for a couple of years, with the pandemic just nullifying all sorts of travel for competitions like esports tournaments, meaning there were no LAN events in the TF2 community throughout 2020 and 2021. Now online, obviously there were still leagues and tournaments being organised by the likes of TF2 Lan in Europe and RGL in North America, as well as DreamHack involving both regions in tournaments with large amounts of prize money. But 2022 is where we really saw the scene kick back into action, with LANs coming back onto the scene. So far this year, we've already had a number of in-person events in both North America and Europe. Started really back in June when we had the local host LAN in North America, followed by a month later the RGL Season 9 invite playoffs. And that was the teams that reached the playoffs on the online season turning up in person for another North American LAN. And then at the end of the month, at the end of August, we had the return of International TF2, where we did see a LAN happening in Europe for the first time in a few years. The first European LAN in TF2 since 2019, the first international LAN since I-65. It was I-69 happening at the end of August, which did see the top teams from Europe and North America battling it out to be crowned world champions of TF2. Now, you may be forgiven for thinking, okay, that was a lot of action. Maybe the rest of the year is going to be a bit quieter, but there's already been DreamHack LAN events announced in Atlanta for North America and an upcoming LAN event in Germany, in Hamburg. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today, because it is promising to be a pretty big competition. If you want information, you can head over to teamfortress.tv. I will post a link in the description to this thread in particular if you want to have any specific details, as I'm going to go over these fairly quickly. It's an event being held in Hamburg at the end of November, and it's by a company called Arcadia, spelled R-C-A-D-I-A, as you can see here. Now, the venue that they have is pretty unique, and it's not something we see very often. It basically has the place where you can play, the event hall, as well as having the rentals and everything in-house, as they own the equipment themselves, as well as having a hotel on site. They are essentially a hotel that they have converted into having LAN tournaments, BYOC events in this particular place, which is absolutely amazing. Not really had anything which has been all under one roof since Deutschland back in 2016. It was 2015, 2016. There were two events in Germany again, where basically everything was all under one roof. But this is specified for 6v6. It's going to be 25th to the 27th, so a Friday to the Sunday event. You can go to Hamburg, you can buy a ticket, you can obviously go to participate, or you can go and visit, but the prices are very, very competitive as well compared to things that you've normally pay at Insomnia or Copenhagen Games. As they say here, they're targeting to be cheaper than those prices, and they do seem pretty competitive prices. For those of you who've been to any of those events, you know how it can get a bit costly, having accommodation, having the event ticket, travel, and obviously any rentals if you're coming from further afield. So the fact that everything is under one roof and they can put this out at a slightly lower price than other events is pretty interesting. What kind of stuff's going to be happening here? Basically, there's a 6v6 tournament. It's going to be the centerpiece. It does seem like there are a number of top teams from Europe going there. We'll go into that a little bit later on. But there's going to be some top European teams there. There's also going to be a side Highlander tournament. I'm not sure whether there's a prize pool for that, but it has been said that they are going to be actually over here. It does say they're actually going to be coordinating the Highlander event themselves. So there hasn't actually been a main Highlander event at a tournament in Europe since Copenhagen Games 2019. Again, I don't know if there's going to be a prize pool for this. It doesn't really say, but there is going to be a €1,500 prize pool for the 6v6 tournament. And there have been a number of teams that have already been confirmed and signed up. And like I said, we'll get into that in a second. So this is basically the information. It gives you all of the stuff there. Let's actually have a look at the teams, because there's quite some big teams here. Now, in Europe, for those of you not familiar with ETF2 well, there are the top division has 8 teams, 8 Premiership teams, and of those 8 Premiership teams currently participating in the autumn season, 4 of them have already signed up for this LAN, and I don't know, maybe potentially more. We have Witness Gaming, who are the current defending Premiership champions. They also came runners-up at I-69. We also have TF2 Easy, who are twice Premiership champions. They came third at I-Series back in August. There's also the League of Shadows and Juple, who are currently participating in the Prem season. So they are, top division players and teams coming from Europe, already organized teams. But 2 other teams that really kind of jumped out to me. We have this team here. If you're German, you get the joke, so I'm not going to read the team name out. But there's got players. We can take a look at the players, actually. We actually have Voxtech, Voxy, and Shocky, as well as other German players, German-speaking players, who you may recognize from previous tournaments. Going back to the team pages, there's also this team here, which has some familiar faces too. Obviously, the likes of Koling, Daegu, Nation, all participating in Premiership divisions over recent seasons, and Nation much more experienced. But also Lucas Tank, former Premiership winner and MVP, and regarded as one of the best demos in the world, and Adiski, who has, again, top Premiership player, played in the final of Copenhagen Games 2019 for Ascent Esports, both coming back to participate for this LAN. That's pretty exciting times. So there's going to be more teams. There's only 7 teams signed up. There is still over a month to go before the event happens. But even from a spectator point of view, I'm excited to see some more LAN action with some more teams. Like we've been so inundated with so much content from the competitive scene, with these LANs happening over and over, lots of changes, new teams coming through, and it's going to be really, really exciting to see what happens. So yeah, check out that Team Fortress TV thread if you want information, if you're interested about going to play as a player, joining a team, or even just going to the event and expectating to see these players play. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great event. There's a lot of TF2 stuff on show, and you know what? It's just great to see. Even as we've passed TF2's 15th birthday, the competitive scene is still alive, kicking, and thriving. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. I hope that information is prudent to you. But as always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.